They say that secrets have a way of coming out, but some secrets are so dark they require a witness. You're about to hear a story about a person who thought they were invisible until their own choices became their biggest liability. Like and subscribe. I appreciate the support. Welcome to Hidden Assets. Lock your doors, turn down the lights, and let's begin. I want you to picture a cold, gray morning in December. We are in Poland, standing on the banks of the Oder River. The wind is biting. It's just one of those mornings where the cold gets straight into your bones, you know. It's damp, it's miserable, and the river is just this dark, swirling mass of ice and mud. A group of local fishermen are out there. They're just looking for a good spot to cast their lines, maybe catch something for dinner. But then, one of them stops. He points toward the reeds near the edge of the water. Something is floating there. It's pale. It's moving slowly with the current, bumping against the frozen mud. At first, they honestly just think it's a piece of trash, a mannequin maybe, or a dead animal. But as they pull it closer with a long branch, their hearts just drop. It's a man. But the crazy part, he isn't just a drowning victim. He is tied up, and I mean really tied up. His whole body is twisted into a shape that doesn't even look human. His hands are pulled back behind him, and get this, a rope goes from his wrists all the way up his back and loops tightly around his neck. It's a trap. If he even tried to move his arms to escape, he would strangle himself. But it gets worse. When the police arrive and pull him out, they realize he's wearing almost nothing. He's been in the water for weeks. No ID, no wallet, nothing. To the police, he's just a ghost, a nameless victim in a cold, forgotten river. So, let's go back a few weeks before that morning. I want you to meet a guy named Dariusz. Now, Dariusz is a totally normal guy. Imagine him sitting in his small office in the city of Wrocław. He runs this tiny advertising business. He's the kind of person who smiles at his neighbors, you know. He works hard, pays his bills. He just likes his quiet life. He's definitely not a criminal. He doesn't have enemies. He's just a good son to his mother. On a random Tuesday afternoon, Dariusz tells his mother he's going out for a quick business meeting. He grabs his keys, walks out the door, and he's just gone. Now, imagine being his mother. 1 hour passes, then 2, then it's night. You call his cell phone, but it goes straight to voicemail. The next day you go to the police, but think about it. The police hear this all the time. Maybe he just needed a break, they say. Maybe he ran off with a girl. But she knew something was wrong. For months, the police search everywhere. They look at his bank accounts, no activity. They talk to his friends, no one saw him. It's like he just walked off the face of the earth. So when the fishermen find him in the river like that, the police are completely baffled. I mean, why would anyone do this to a simple office worker? There was no ransom note, no robbery, just a man tied like an animal, left to rot. The case goes cold. For 3 long years, that file just sits on a shelf, gathering dust. The killer has won. He's out there, living his life, probably laughing at the cops, or so he thinks. 3 years later, a detective named Jacek takes over. Now Jacek is one of those guys who notices the tiny things. He's the kind of guy who can't sleep if a puzzle piece is missing. He starts looking at Dariusz's old belongings, and he finds something. It turns out Dariusz's mobile phone, the one that went missing with him, was sold on an auction site called Allegro just days after he disappeared. Jacek traces the sale. It leads him to a user account, and this is where things get really dark. The account belongs to a man named Christian. Now Christian isn't some street thug. His full name is Christian Bala. Christian is an intellectual, a philosopher, a world traveler. He's been to South Korea, Japan, all over. And honestly, he's a man who thinks he is a god. He has this massive ego. He's convinced he's the smartest person in any room. He's always wearing these thin glasses, looking like a professor who's about to give you a lecture. But Christian has a secret. He just published a book, a novel called Amok. Detective Jacek buys the book. He sits down in a quiet room late at night and starts to read. And as he turns the pages, his blood just runs cold. It's not just a story, it's a confession. The book is about a guy named Chris. In the story, Chris is this intellectual who decides to commit a murder just to see if he can get away with it. But the details, man, the details are terrifying. In the book, Chris ties his victim up with a very specific rope trick, the backpack knot. It was the exact same knot found on the body of Dariush in the river. But it didn't stop there. The book describes the victim being led around on a leash. It describes the smell of the room where he was kept. It even describes how the victim was starved for 3 days before being thrown into the water, things that only the killer could know. It's just wild, right? Christian's hidden asset was his intelligence. He thought he was so brilliant that he could hide the truth in plain sight. He thought that if he just called it fiction, he was safe. He used his own crime as a plot for his book just to show the world how clever he was. He literally couldn't help himself. He had to brag. Now, Jacek brings Christian in for questioning, and this is where the chess game starts. Christian sits there, totally calm. He smiles at the detectives. He's like, "Gentlemen, it's a book. It's art. Have you never heard of imagination?" He tries to make the police feel stupid. He says that the knots in the book were just something he read about in a manual. But Jacek had another ace up his sleeve. Remember that phone? Jacek proves that Christian sold the phone. Then he finds out that Christian had been spying on his ex-wife. He was convinced she was having an affair with Dariush. There was no evidence for it. Dariush probably didn't even know her well. But in Christian's twisted, jealous mind, it was the truth. He had stalked Dariush. He had waited. And then he struck. In the end, Christian Bala was arrested. And get this, during the trial, he actually laughed. He told the judge, "You don't understand art. You're trying to jail a writer for his thoughts." But the jury didn't buy it. They saw the phone records, they saw the knots. In 2007, the author was sentenced to 25 years in prison. I want you to think about that for a second. We all have secrets, right? We all have things we keep hidden. But for some people, the secret is so heavy, they just have this desperate need to share it. They want to be seen. They want to be praised for their darkness. Christian Bala thought he wrote a masterpiece that would make him famous. He wanted to be a legend. Instead, he wrote the very evidence that would lock him away for life. He was a prisoner of his own ego long before he ever saw a jail cell. So, the next time you read a mystery novel or you're watching a scary movie, just ask yourself, is this really just a story? Or is someone, somewhere, trying to tell us exactly what they did? Because sometimes the scariest stories are the ones that are actually true.